Hey, Adrenalheads, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jayme.
And this episode, well, it's going to be a very different episode in comparison to what we normally do, which is cover specific movies. I like to see this episode as my favorite Jason Vorhees. And the reason why that is Damien, who watched it in the 80s, has covered the Friday the 13th series, at least 2 movies, I believe, so far. Right, Jayme?
Yes, we've done 1 and 2.
So I think it's a good companion to that particular podcast that is on the Pirate Car Entertainment Network. So that way, if you guys have not checked it out, please do check it out. And these are the reasons why, Jayme loves jumping on that podcast to talk about Friday the 13th films.
And Evil Dead, I did one other thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in preference to Friday the 13th, I'm sure there are listeners out there that love Friday the 13th, and there are some that have not even delved into the original series itself. So my feeling is, okay, let's explain to you why we like these movies or and why we like certain actors who portray Jason, our favorite ones, as it were. So maybe you jump into those particular movies of the Friday the 13th series, because there are so many at this point. Okay. So with that, we'll move right into our top 5. So we're going to start off at 5. So Jayme, who's your 5th favorite Jason?
The one who had the, arguably shortest time, Ari Lehman, the OG.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Because he was literally there for, what, a matter of half a minute?
But that jump scare at the end, because the first time you see that movie, you have no idea it's coming.
That is true.
Yeah.
And he was a kid, too, when he did that.
Yeah. He was
a young kid. I think he was maybe, 12 or 13 or something
like that.
Yeah. And it's pretty funny, too, because Ari goes around. He has his own particular heavy metal band, a rock band now. And they do conventions. So if you get to see Ari Lehman, he doesn't look anything like he did as a kid. He's got long hair, goatee. Somebody's got a guitar when they play live on stage. It's pretty funny.
I mean, he looks like,
and pretty cool.
He looks like somebody who would have been Jason.
Oh yeah, definitely. But he's nice. He's a nice person to talk to at the conventions. He's approachable. He prides himself on being the first Jason. And obviously that makeup was done by Mr. Tom Savini himself. So that was pretty cool. And that you could see in Grande Illusions book 1 that Tom has put, and how he did the makeup effects for Ari. And there's a cool documentary. We'll talk about the documentary after this. But yeah, that jump scare, I do agree, but not in my top 5. I would say he's the one of the few others that I left out, but I'm not saying I don't like Ari, no. But it is just, I have my particular favorites. So with that, I'm just going to go right into my number 5, which would be C.J. Graham from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Now, this was the first movie of the series I got to watch on my own. It was 1986 of all things, or 87. I think it was 86 when it came out. But I got to see it, and I really enjoyed it. And I just love the aspect of Jason coming back as a zombie. And I think that's what started the series into where, he was officially dead and he's a zombie.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And the favorite scenes that I would have within that would be the cabin scenes. Basically all of them, how they got the tension down, especially when he's walking through with the kids when they're sleeping. And you see that one kid freaking out, or you see him walking by the cabin and he's got a headless body over his shoulder. Or him kicking out of the cabin itself when Tommy screams out to him from the lake. It was a pretty good film. I really enjoy it. Obviously, you get Alice Cooper soundtrack in it. I just love it. CJ was pretty much a bouncer, and they grabbed him because of how big he was and how he presented himself. And I believe they were having problems with the stuntman that was on the site. And you and I were talking about that before we started recording. What was the guy's name that was scheduled?
Dan Bradley. And there is some people who say Dan Bradley did most of the scenes and CJ Graham did not. But yeah, It's kind of hard.
They're very argumentative, but you could actually talk to CJ at a convention. He's more than willing and nice enough to talk to his fans.
He is ridiculously nice. He spent so much time with us last time I saw him.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Just go up to him, talk to him. Oddly enough, at a lot of these fan conventions, a lot of the Jasons are really not very well sought after. CJ, when I saw him last, and it was the first time I got to really talk to him, it was his line, there was Kurzinger, and there was Kane. So everybody ran to Kurzinger and Kane and left CJ in the corner and didn't bother. But I literally was able to just walk right up to him.
Yeah, we were able to walk right up to him. Even like Sean Cunningham was at the last one I was at. And
oh, wow.
Kane had a bigger line than Sean Cunningham.
Well, not many people really care for the producer, the guy who created it. He did make it, and he's legendary for that aspect, and you can't take that away from him. There's a lot of controversy going around about Cunningham and the whole rights and, you know, how it's being used. I think he wanted to put out a new Friday the 13th recently, but since everything is in litigation, it was like 2 court cases. One of them being about the video game and the other based upon rights. And he kind of sways the question. But yeah, Cunningham, I would go up to him if he was at a con in future events. But yeah, so CJ was my 5th. Obviously my introduction to Friday the 13th before I delve back into the original movies, like the number 1 all the way up until then.
Yeah, he's higher up on my list than number 5. I love him. I love his presence.
Yeah. All right. So you're number 4?
Number 4 is Ted White from the final chapter.
Awesome. Okay.
He's the one, like, I feel like he made Jason have more feelings. Like, he's the one that kind of, like, you could kind of read Jason's mind with him. And that's where that kind of started. Like, I feel like he changed the character a bit.
I thought he was a little bit more menacing, and he's my number 4 as well. So we could both go in tandem and talk about this. So, but honestly, I got to meet Ted. He's such a nice man to talk to. I've met him a few times over the years. One of my favorite possessions that he signed was a real machete.
Nice.
Yeah, at a Chiller Theater convention. Actually, he signed it. Kurzinger signed it. And I believe Derek signed it too. So that's hidden somewhere. But very approachable, been around. He's been appearing in movies since 1949.
Yeah, he was one of the oldest people to play Jason.
Yeah. And he's very nice to talk to. A long list of credits of very reputable movies and TV shows. So movies that you've probably seen. And I'm not going to go down the list because we'll be here forever. But yeah, I have to give you that. Yeah, I didn't see feeling. I gave more menacing actions because he was the more living Jason before. Well, he got killed.
Well, he also hated the movie. Like, he's come around to it now and like appreciate what it's done. But he hated the movie, and that totally comes through. Like, there is so much anger that comes through in that character. Yep.
I think they. In the documentary, or he actually talks about it, how his finger got cut or something from the scene with the machete. Yeah, he had to go in for stitches, and they brought him in the hospital, and he was still in the Jason gear.
Oh God, what's wrong with you? Oh no, wait, it's just makeup.
Yeah, well, same thing happened to Bruce Campbell too. Yep. They had real makeup effects in Army of Darkness, and then he cut his chin, and it was something else on his face. They thought that was the issue. He goes, no, it's this one. He had to point it out. The cool thing about good makeup effects artists out there. The cool thing, too, about Ted, though, he reprised his Jason role last year.
In the game?
No, in a YouTube fan-made movie.
Oh, which one?
Coroner's Report.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there too. For listeners out there, they're gathering a lot of the actors to come back by fans, and they're crowdfunded in some way. And they get Lar Park Lincoln was in one, as well as the therapist from number 7, her therapist in that. I forget his name. but they have been grabbing them and having them come back and reprise their roles as like a continuation or an episodic roles of these YouTube movies, fan-made movies.
That's cool.
And I enjoyed them. I watched one recently that was a continuation too. I think, what was it, Roseblood or something like that?
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. There's a few that I've heard of. I haven't actually checked any of them out.
Yeah, there were a few that came out that weren't so great that before they started doing this, but a lot of these have a decent budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. Jason X is a fan film, not a...
well, I loved it.
You know I love that movie. Come on.
I love that movie. I know that Ben disagrees, but...
Well, Ben can be wrong.
Well, no, I really think the argument between you both of you, what we love is what we love. So if some people could be like, oh, I hated that movie, kind of like the guilty pleasure movies that we all talk about. But to me, I think you and I don't think of that as like a guilty pleasure movie. I think both of us like it just because, well, I saw it in the theater when it was like very short amount of time. But I was like, ooh, Uber Jason, we get something that's really cool. Now they use that trope of like Leprechaun in space or something.
Yeah,
but yeah, it worked in the sense that I was entertained. I had a good laugh at it.
There's some great kills. There's some great funny scenes. I love that movie. I don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah. All right. For us, that was both of us was Ted White for number 4. Cool.
My third, we already talked about, is C.J. Graham.
Okay.
Which
what did you like about that? Just the overall look of the movie?
Overall look of the movie.
How menacing?
He was intimidating and scary. Like... was, and like you said, the zombie thing, again, it was a switch for the character. Like it was a key pivot. Now I can't talk.
Great pivot for the character.
I'm giving up on this. But it was,
all right.
It was like a key moment for the character where it changes. So
yeah. I that's what I loved about it too, because it went from the previous movies were all about, like, obviously the final chapter was meant to be, that was it. They were going to do no more. And they're like, well, the fans love it. We have to bring them back because they see this as a cash cow. So as soon as it was incorporated as Jason, I just love the effects on the mask and everything when we first see him come out of the grave. And I just love the look. Now, mind you, it was gooey, but my best and most favorite makeup effect would be 7.
Yeah, I can see that.
Bickler got a great artist to do that makeup, and Kane wore it well. But I really did enjoy, when I first saw this, it was kind of a gooey, sloppy Jason coming out of a grave, with CJ. Yeah, cool. So my number 3 would be Richard Brooker, and he portrayed Jason in Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. And that was in 1982. I just love the way he moved and looked in the part. One of the coolest scenes that I love most is where you see Chris is dreaming. We don't know she's dreaming, but it's just a dream sequence. And she wakes up outside of the house, but looks up, and in the window you see Jason, an unmasked Jason. And he's got, I think he's got the scar on his head or the cut in the head when the axe was in it. I'm not sure entirely, but he's chasing her. And it was like, I think it was like the first big view and longest that we've seen of Jason without his mask up until then, because we only had the first 2 movies. Yeah. And obviously, the second movie was all Jason centric, whereas the first movie was all about Mama killing everybody. Yes. But I really liked him. He's been around. There's a whole documentary on YouTube about him. He only did so much work because a lot of his work was behind the scenes. He did on-screen work for a certain TV show. There was a hospital TV show that he played a doctor in. But he innovated something about recording with microphones with a lapel, with like lavalier microphones. And the whole documentary just praises him and his work. He passed away in 2013. And I just love the documentary because there's a lot of things you just don't know about the person. So I highly recommend it. I'm going to be posting these in the notes for all you guys that are listening. So
okay, good.
You could easily just click on it.
Now I can click on it and watch it too, because that sounds interesting.
It is. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I just love Richard Brooker. he had an accent. I forget where he came from, but I just love how it's like he kept talking about, like, in the documentary, how they would have to feed him because of the makeup. He had to have tiger's milk. I've never heard of tiger's milk before that. I'm not sure exactly what's in it, but it's interesting. So yeah, that was mine. That's my number 3.
Solid choice. Very solid choice.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2?
Derek Mears. He was scary.
Yes. Yeah.
Was,
that's my number 2 as well.
Yeah.
And Derek, I got to meet Derek a couple of times. I hung out with him at a Comic-Con in Connecticut, and not many people were going to him, which is odd, but at that time when I went, Swamp Thing had just come out.
Oh, wow.
On DC, on the DC app that they had. So I was watching the show, and I really wanted to see him. So I got an autograph with both, the Friday the 13th and the Swamp Thing. And he had a whole panel based upon all the work that he's done, where Swamp Thing was laying at that point, because at that point, they literally canceled the show.
Ugh.
So it's like they announced it that week.
Oh.
And when I found out, I had I skipped a friend of mine's panel, Jerry Ordway, who's an artist for DC Comics. He was doing a panel, and Jerry thought I was going into his room because they were next to each other. And I actually sat down going, wait, Derek was supposed to be in this one. So I get up and I wave bye to Jerry. And I see him later, and I said, I apologize. I said, sorry. I said, look, I see you every other week at a comic shop, so I already heard your stories. Yeah. And you have a full house. He goes, well, how many people did Derek have? And I'm like, not really, not that many. I think there was maybe 25 of us. Man. So it was more casual, more comfortable. I was in like the second row, and you could easily just talk to him. And then you could go back to the his table and just talk to him. And he is so nice. He has, I think he's got alopecia where he can't grow hair. So, and he's got in his skin too. So as a kid, he always, had that look and was always picked on. But now look at him. He's so tall.
Yeah.
And he plays all these crazy characters too. He always plays some sort of menacing person or somebody in Man in Suit, which pretty much all these actors are that we are talking about now. And people who know me, I just love the Man in Suit actors, all the way from Creature from the Black Lagoon to Godzilla to all this stuff. And a lot of people look at me going, why do you like the people you don't see? Well, you got to give them credit where credit is due.
And it's harder to act if you can't see them with a suit on
and makeup,
with no emotions, that's way harder to do.
Yeah, that's the reason why I really like those characters and actors. So yeah, we both agree. Derek Mears.
I'm supposed to, we're going to a con in March, and he's supposed to be there, and I'm so excited to meet him.
Yeah, Jayme and I will be going to Cherry Hill, New Jersey for Monster Mania. So if you happen to see us or whatever, just say hi. Yeah. Whatever. But we'll definitely be there. I know I'll probably go see Derek Mears again, and of course, the number one that both of us would probably have would be Kane Hodder.
Yes. I've met him so many times.
You too as well. Me as well. And Kane has been around forever, and he's the person who's played Jason the most.
And the best. And
and the best.
I'm still mad he was not in Freddy vs. Jason.
Same here.
I'm so pissed about that. That should have been him.
Well, the reason why they didn't do that is because I believe Robert Englund is about the same height as Kane.
They can do stuff in filming to make it look different. I don't care. It should
I know that. Been. Same here. He could have stood on a box. Who cares? For certain, or they could do perspective shots.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to be in the same seat right next to scene next to each other, But yeah, he played Jason 4 times. Part 7, New Blood. Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. And then they don't call it Part 9, but it's Jason Goes to Hell, because that was during the time when New Line was buying out from Paramount the rights to Friday the 13th series and the Jason name. And the last one being, of course, Jason X. which both me and Jayme love. For me, it was the science fiction part of it, along with a lot of the good kill scenes that were in it.
And the virtual reality scene. You cannot beat the virtual reality scene. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love how they reprised the same thing. Because in part 7, he kills the girl with a knapsack.
Yep.
Doesn't he keep doing that?
It's the sleeping
as
bag.
Uber Jason?
Against the
The
tree.
sleeping bag, yep.
And because it's virtual reality, the girls don't start screaming. They just keep giggling. And he's like, why won't
giggling,
you die?
And it's over and over and over again. It's just so cool to watch, though.
It's the best.
And one of my favorite makeups, too. It's like in my top 5 of makeups of Jason would be the Uber Jason.
That is.
I just love that look. I would love to have that mask.
That is really a really cool look. And Kane is the first time I met him, I totally geeked out. It was a Monster Mania in Jersey. And we got there early, and I was maybe second online for him. Maybe, pretty close. I could see him when he finally walked in, and I'm just like, ee, ee, ee. And when I finally, oh my God, it's you. And he was like, oh my God, it's you.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, but I asked him, because I don't know if many people know this, in dedication to the role, he tattooed the word kill on the inside of his lip.
Yep.
So I was like, do you still have the tattoo? And he pulls his lip down. I'm like, oh my God, it's there.
I would say he's the most popular Jason that is out there. People just love his Jason. So
the way he tilts his head, that head tilt, yep. I'm gonna have to kill movement. You now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a pleasant person to talk to as well. He wears a lot of gloves, a lot of high up shirts, for the fact that he's burned on a lot of his body from all the stunt work he's done over the years. When I first met him, he didn't wear gloves because he wasn't burned then. It happened on some sort of set that he was doing in the 90s. And I think the first time he did get burned was in the movie Prison. And he was talking to me about that. And it was like he was playing the part in the electric chair. And he's supposed to go on fire. And they couldn't get him out in time. So a lot of his back was burnt at that point and went up a little bit around his neck.
Yeah.
So, burns are the hardest thing to do in these movies, especially when you're wearing makeup. And then they can factor in all the stuff that goes in makeup, especially back then. So, but he's very nice to every fan that approaches him. He does a lot of work with burn victims. So, and he does a lot of things for charity with the burn victims. So that way, you get these people help. And I saw a couple of people who are burn victims that go up to him.
I never showed
him
my
pleasant
burns.
And talked. Really?
I didn't think about that. Because, I have burns on my arm that I probably should show him next time I see him.
Yeah, you should, because say, hey, I know you, I'm just like, look what I got.
But this when I was a baby.
I don't think he'll give anything to you. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was 9 months old. I poured a pot of coffee on myself.
Oh, not good, not good. Well, hopefully you don't remember how bad it felt.
No, but I don't drink coffee because of it.
Oh, good idea. I wouldn't. I don't drink coffee because I just can't drink coffee. I just tried forever. But yeah, those are our top 5s of our favorite Jasons, as it were. We encourage you guys to go listen to Watched It in the 80s with Damien and Jayme's coverage of Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2.
We'll get to Part 3 soon. I think we just started talking about scheduling it.
Cool. So they'll probably go up to Part 4. But if anything, I'll talk to Damien. Maybe, Jayme and I could cover the remaining movies if need be, occasionally. Not going to happen in one shot because it's very hard to do. Sprinkle them in here and there. Maybe one at a time. Maybe get it released at a time on Friday the 13th when people love just to binge watch Friday the 13th films.
Yes.
So
yeah, we did. So. I think our first one came out on Friday the 13th.
That's awesome.
Watched it in the 80s. I'm 95% sure. If it wasn't the first one, it was the second one. One of them was released on Friday the 13th.
Well, for you listeners that want to leave any feedback or get in touch with us in any way, you could easily find us on the Piratecore Entertainment Network.com. You could actually go to each of the podcasts there. I've already mentioned it. Watched It in the 80s. Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paige, where they cover monster movies, thriller films, anything makes you run for your lives.
Yeah.
And obviously you could listen to us there as well. You could just go to our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. You could always find ways to message me there, or if there's a movie that we're covering that week, there's always an image, and you just comment on the image below. You could also email us at adrenalincinemapodcast@gmail.com. And then, like I said, I highly encourage everybody to go to the Pirate Court Entertainment Network website just to follow through with any of the other podcasts or entertainment that's there. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
I'm Jayme.
And this was Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.